and people are doing well and thriving. We actually spent a little bit of time with our team last week. We had a psychologist come and talk with our team about how to help people cope with repeated losses in like multiple offer scenarios, right? Because the emotions of what our clients go through is something that's really important for us as agents to help them navigate. So the whole concept of this class today, Close 50 Buyers, is going through our buyer presentation that I formulated over my last 12 years in the biz that I teach to my team, and that helps us attract and close buyer business. But a lot of these principles translate over to converting seller business as well. So the whole idea today is that you leave with a better understanding of how to improve and do your buyer presentations better. My goals for today, I like to have 4 to get started. To educate, hopefully to expand your minds, hopefully to encourage you that you can do this, and also hopefully to entertain. If you're going to be hanging out with me for about an hour or so, it shouldn't be boring. So don't be shy to throw some comments in the chat and give me some positive reinforcement. It's a little different doing these virtually instead of being together in person. So let's dive right in. I always begin all of our presentations with a review of the mission of my sales team, the Coalition Properties Group. I encourage everyone out here to open all of your communications with potential leads in the same way. So at Coalition Properties Group, it's our mission to be the bridge to our community for all things real estate, lifestyle, and wealth building. When you open up with that mission and you lead with that, it hopefully diffuses a little bit and takes some of that commission breath fear away that folks have. So always open and lead with mission. And most Keller Williams agents really get and understand that, but I encourage you to add in your mission to everything that you do. Our vision and values are a little bit more internal facing as a team. I spend more time normally talking about the mission, but these are just examples of things that I show to clients when we are presenting. Those are my partners, Keith and Ryan. I always joke and say that Keith looks like Remy from House of Cards for any House of Cards fans. And Ryan is my good friend from college. We are the managing partners of Coalition Properties Group, and have had some pretty awesome years of success since we've come together. Please connect with us on all the social media platforms. We always like to say, feel free to R&D, rip off and duplicate any good ideas, but always put your own personal touch on it. So screenshot that if you like. Those are all the ways to find and stay in touch with us. We do a lot of good stuff in terms of communication and staying in touch with our sphere and our community. Whenever I'm presenting, I like the analogy of nuggets and sauce, okay? People always in rooms, especially on Clubhouse, they're like, oh, thank you for all these nuggets. Like these nuggets were so great. And I think that's important because you have to have some meat. You have to have some actionable stuff. But then the sauce is what really makes it important. My friends tease me because whenever we go out, I will always get like every dipping sauce possible, right? So if I'm going to a restaurant and they're like, well, would you like some ranch? Would you like some other sauce? I'm like, yes, Susan, I would like all the sauces. Please give me all of them. Because the best flavor experiences happen when you got that perfectly cooked nugget, morsel, French fry, piece of meat, whatever, and a really good piece of sauce to go with it. So today, the presentation I'm going to give you hopefully has some good nuggets in terms of meat, but then also some sauce that entertains you and keeps you engaged. And when you present and connect with your sphere, think of your presentations in that way, right? You got to have some meat, some substance, but you also got to have some personality. That's what helps differentiate you a little bit. Anything in sales goes through your mind, right? It starts within. So I think the attitude that you bring to this is going to influence your behavior, right? Your behaviors become habits, which are actions, right? And those actions will end up leading to a solution. Solutions show you results. Results give you some type of performance or positive reinforcement, and that encourages your attitude. But it all starts and begins with your mindset and attitude. So as we're talking about this whole prospect of closing 50 buyers in a year, growing your business, connecting with more people, it has to start with you. So the win in all of these cases begins within. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, how I coach my team and how I approach the mindset that I'm bringing to every sales interaction that I'm having. So this Close 50 Buyers class, I first came together in 2018, and the numbers up on the screen are what I was able to do with just one buyer agent and one admin in one calendar year. And this was when I was able to close 50 buyer transactions. Now, what you don't see behind this is that I only had 10 listings in that year. So again, 60 deals in a year was a lot. 50 was very challenging, but it showed that we were able to attract a lot at the top of the funnel and actually close quite a few. So those are just some sample numbers of what we were able to do in 2018. And then when I formed my partnership with Coalition Properties Group and my partners, we had some pretty significant growth, but there were more people. And that was 2019 before the pandemic. Again, very good numbers, really successful, just on the cusp of Gary's top 100. And then 2020 happened, and right? Holy crap, right? That was a lot. And I always joke and say I had a luscious, thick head of hair before all of that. And it is now, super shiny because of the stress and the mo money, mo problems thing that came up. But what we were able to do in having a referral-based, really buyer-heavy business empowered us to grow and support people and be in the spaces and neighborhoods where folks wanted to live in our region. So we were able to have some significant growth last year. And it's all because of the systems and how good we got with focusing on consults, which is some of the stuff I'm going to give you today. And this is just our year to date. So we've had a really strong first quarter. Well, this is really through mid-March, and we've got like 54 pending right now as well. So we're really continuing to grow, helping people. And we do have more, right? It's not just the sales leaders up top. We have 5 other sales team members and 4 full-time admins. So, when people see these big numbers, I think it's important to talk about all the folks that help things come together. And for us, helping things come together all starts with the consult. I think it's really important to support your realtor communities because you get an amazing ROI from that work. If you don't know what any of these acronyms are, and anyone on this call is curious about how they can plug in and support or do anything with your local realtor association, I'd love to help. I do have some friends in Connecticut that I can help you with. Keller Williams agents really understand and get the power of networking and growth internally, but I encourage you to think a little bit bigger and give back to your association to make your role bigger. In competitive situations, knowing people and having relationships has been a difference maker in helping them win too. So when you show up and give back, you get good response and return on that investment. RPAC is super important. If you were deemed essential at the beginning of the pandemic, that was directly because of RPAC and legislation being in place to help you with that. So again, if you got any questions at all or want to engage about anything having to do with the Realtor Association or RPAC, those are 2 things I'm passionate about. So let me know. And yes, you rock. My little Bitmoji is going to be showing up throughout this presentation because I want to encourage everybody, man. By you showing up today, you're taking that first step to learn, improve your craft, and get better. No matter where you are on this stage, if you got 10 units you've closed, or 2 units you closed, or 100, there's always things that you can do to get better and grow and learn. That is my posture. My team is learning-based. I am learning-based. And that's really what's helped me succeed and grow our business over the years. So I just want to encourage you that you got this, and that you already have what you need to survive and thrive within your network and the people you know. I'm an Ignite teacher in our office. So shout out to all the productivity coaches here. Hopefully everyone here has taken advantage of Ignite and then Bold. I always include this in my presentations because this understanding of your sphere and who's in it is going to be a really huge part of us getting to that goal of closing 50 buyers in a year. In the Ignite I think it's Find Clients and Close Clients. It's like one of the first Ignite classes. This graph helps you think about all the different people you are already connected to. And in a lot of ways, we might be nervous or unsure of if it's okay to reach out to and engage with these folks. But I want to encourage you today that you need to visually think about them, write these names out. And if you have not already taken that Ignite course, I know your productivity coach can share it. Organize the people that you are already connected with and start your outreach to them, right? And it shouldn't just be outreach to say, hey, I'm a realtor and I want to sell you a house. It should be substantive. You should talk about the market. You should talk about what's going on, but organize the people that you're talking to and start within that sphere and the people that you're already connected to in one way or the other. If you want to make more money at the end, right? Like it's all about the funnel. This is another thing taken from the Ignite class that explains that you have to have more leads at the top to get more checks at the bottom, right? Like just period. So for anyone that's wanting to grow their business and hit whatever your goal number is in terms of closings, you have to have more leads at the top. The funnel is super important, and that last slide can help you understand more people that you can add to your funnel. I created this visual from Gary Keller's Think Like a CEO podcast a few years back, and I like to include this as advice for talking points when you're engaging with consumers out in the market. There are lots of things that realtors do to help, right? There's both functionary on the edges and fiduciary in the middle. I'd like to believe that our value has shifted over time. There was a time when people needed us, needed realtors for the information and data, and they needed us for the servicing part of actually seeing homes. As we look at kind of markets continuing to change and grow, I don't put all my value and weight in the ability to provide consumers with the information and data about listings. They can get that elsewhere. That's knowledge, okay? I'd like to know and be informed. I'd love for them to come through me to get it with my KW app, right? And have my technology where they stay within, but I'm not gonna fight with them over where they get the information and data from. I'm also not going to fight long-term over the servicing part of it. If you would like to grow a big and significant business, there's going to be parts of that servicing that you won't have time to do yourself. It's just the truth, just a real thing. So as realtors look at how we're supposed to evolve and stay relevant, I want to encourage people that the outside parts, those functionary tasks, are not things that we have to hold on to with a vice grip, right? We need to understand how to do them. We need to be proficient at them. We need to be good at them. But at the end of the day, this middle part of the advice, context, and expertise is where you really need to lean in and be the most proficient and the most efficient you can be, because that is where your value lies. And a part of a good presentation, either seller or buyer, is expressing what fiduciary is, what type of advice, what type of context, and what type of expertise you bring to the table. So as you look at explaining why a consumer should want to work with you, live in the middle, live in the fiduciary. The functionary on the outside are things you need to understand, but they are not at the core of our value and what we do. And that's a major key. Okay, so what we're going to go through today in terms of order is a mindset check and understanding the mental reps that I coach my team to go through. We're going to talk about how you plan for this consultation, which is at the core of Closing 50 Buyers. I'm going to share some resources for virtual consultations with you. I'm going to talk about how you open, what you say, ask, and do, and also how you close. Okay, so let's dive right in. Mental reps. I know it's kind of cheesy, and some people don't, always agree with the pausing and the mental reps that you get before. But I was an athlete in a previous life, and my coach would always say this to me as kind of a consolation when I wouldn't get playing time. Right? They'd say, "Sit on the bench and get some mental reps." And as a kid, that used to make me angry. Oh, excuse me. As a kid, that used to make me angry. But the older I get, the more important and powerful I realize these mental reps are. So I encourage everybody, if you've never done it before, to take a few minutes before you actually have the consult with somebody and pause to walk through that consult and the things that you say and do before you do it. What does that mean? I mean, literally close your eyes and sit there and imagine from the first time they walk in to the first thing you say to them, to the interaction with them going well, to them agreeing to work with you, to them wanting to sign that buyer agency agreement, to them going out to see a home, to getting under contract. Actually see those things in detail in advance. So when it comes up, it's not a surprise. It's not the first time you've been there. And the first time one of my coaches recommended this to me, I thought it was cheesy. I thought it was ridiculous. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to sit here and, visually think about, all the things I'm going to do in my consult. But there is so much power and kind of this levity that came from being able to do these mental reps in advance. So I encourage everyone to add that into your routine before you go into any type of consult. Take some mental reps. Think about the detail. Think about what they say. Think about what you say, and see them accepting, wanting to work with you, and agreeing that you're the best fit to help them accomplish their goals. So mental reps are super important, and I encourage you to do that before you begin with the consumer. Some things that I encourage you to do before this buyer consultation on your way to closing 50 buyers is to know some macro or high level market statistics that you should share with them. I like to have a bank of knowledge to pull from. So some examples of the bank of knowledge that you should have at all times are: what's the median price for your city or county? What are new developments that are coming up? What is the list price to sold price variance in the area where you work? You should know, at least conversationally, also about some buyer programs that can help people with down payment assistance, closing costs, grants, things like that. You don't have to be an expert in all of these things, but the more you can prepare and have this information ready to call upon, the quicker and higher probability that when you interact with somebody, they're going to like you right away and they're going to want to sign up on site. So as you're planning for these consultations, do a little bit of legwork to be able to share with them the information that establishes you as that market expert. I've got some examples of what I create for my team that's macro market data. Our market uses Bright MLS, but whatever market you're in, there should be a couple different vendors that help you create data that shows you some really important numbers about properties. So what's the listed price median for the area? What's the monthly supply of inventory, right? How many days on market are average? How many units sold last month? What's the median sold price, right? All of these big factors and numbers are things that can help you explain and become that market expert to your clients. So I think it's helpful to spend a little bit of time looking at this data and also being able to compare year over year to what that data looked like to previous years. Remember that last slide when I was showing you what the fiduciary roles are, you know, expertise, context, right? I think a command of macro market data will definitely help you with context. And there's lots of ways that you can study this and just have it ready to provide. In this graphic that you see, all I did was export this PDF and highlight the highs and lows for our local market so that people have an understanding and we can manage their expectations from the first conversation. I want to share with you some resources that I use for booking appointments. I really prefer the scheduling app Acuity and Calendly. I just changed over to Calendly because that interface is a little bit better and allows me to integrate with Google Hangouts and get right to meetings quicker. I want to show you what that booking screen looks like. For me, this is what Calendly looks like. And there's another 2.0 hack that I can share with this as well, where you can add a plugin to Google Chrome that allows you to put available times to meet right into the body of an email with HTML code. So if you have a Calendly account, which you should have, and there's different paid levels for it, you can go to Google Chrome and add a plugin to Google Chrome so that every time you're sending an email, it will allow you to pop up. And instead of saying, hey, consumer, you go to the calendar and pick a time and input your info, it'll let you pick like 6 or 7 times that you prefer to meet with them on site. So ad hoc scheduling is one of my favorite features of this Calendly service. Additionally, I used before Acuity, which had a decent interface, but I was having some issues with all my calendars talking. So I prefer Calendly right now. But as you are looking to book and schedule appointments with people, the more efficient you can be, the easier it is for them to book an appointment, the higher probability that they'll book it quickly, because speed is important. I have a shortcut that I save in my phone. So I'm an iPhone user. And my shortcut in my phone, if you go to keyboard shortcuts, I type in the letters SKED, right? Because that's nothing that will equal a real word that I am going to write, but SKED. And then I have that auto fill in my link to schedule an appointment with me. And I also express there that if they need to meet more urgently, email me or call me. We'll do our best to make it work. But my schedule link represents 99% of my availability and the soonest that I can meet. And I've only had a few times ever where people say, well, I need to meet sooner. And because I couldn't meet with you, I called someone else, right? If you establish the precedent and if you have good structure and how people can connect with you, and you present the value as to why they should wait to meet with you, I've found that they will. So I'll make sure I send around my schedule link to everybody here, because I have a link in both of my calendars that's also for agents, right? Why do I have that? Downline, all right? In addition to being able to meet with consumers, I've got a link in my calendar that lets agents get in the calendar too, to talk about getting into the business, joining KW, and growing my downline. So that's a 2.0 hack. But make it easier for people to schedule appointments with you. And as I said, I prefer the Calendly setup because that allows you to immediately plug in a virtual meeting link when they confirm, so you save a step. Efficiency is super important in being able to close more deals. Here are some free resources that help make your virtual consultations even better. I like to use Google Hangouts for a lot of meetings. I know we're in Zoom right now. I think Zoom is best for classes, bigger groups, but for one-to-one meetings, I found Google Hangouts to work pretty well because it can work just from a web browser. I make PDFs a lot of times out of Google Docs. Like, I don't pay for Adobe Acrobat. I'm pretty cheap. Again, I'm a Mac user, so I really prefer using Preview to like that last graphic that I showed you with the market stats. I did all those edits in Preview and it's free on my computer. Google Slides, which is what I'm presenting from you right now, is a great PowerPoint creation tool that can also allow you to make presentations that you share and send out. And then Pages is another free Word alternative that comes in all Mac computers that I highly recommend. And this is the majority of the stuff that I'm interacting with consumers, I'm making or editing in these free services. So lead with revenue, always start with some free stuff because that works best. Let's go over really quick some virtual meeting etiquette, because right now, with it being, March 2021, most likely your initial buyer consults are going to be virtual. So I did another class on virtual meetings. I'm going to go over some best practices that have worked for me there and help me out. And I will take a pause in a second and look at some of the questions, but I did want to get through the majority of the presentation. So if you got questions up there, I see them pinging, but in full screen, I just keep rolling. Let's make sure you know how to sound and look good on virtual presentations. And why is this important? When you first have a consultation or meeting with somebody, that's all about rapport and trust building. We want to reduce the distractions or things that might have them think you are anything other than the consummate professional that you are. So by having a couple things you plan on in advance, it can make your virtual presentations go better. For one, I think you should have a wireless mouse and/or keyboard. As you've noticed during this presentation, I have not had to reach my hands up here or do any of this stuff because that looks weird and is distracting. And having it away also stops the shaking when you type, because some people type really hard. So make sure you have a wireless mouse or keyboard. I just got these Logitech ones. They were like $50 total off of Amazon. There's some that are cheap as 20. And I'll make sure I send to Steve a link to all the resources I'm talking about today that can help you with your virtual presentations. Additionally, if you're in a space where you can't control the background noise as much, some inline microphone headphones can be helpful. As you see, I'm not using them now because I'm teaching, but if you're just having a conversation with people, it can help improve your audio quality if you use headphones that have that inline microphone. A laptop stand or something to elevate is actually another really easy and important thing to use, because we don't want to have that strange angle that a lot of people have. And I joke, and I love my mom to death. And my mom is, I guess what, I'm 34, so she's 65. She's not very good at technology, okay? And whenever she picks up her phone or we FaceTime or do anything virtual, she's always looking at me from above, and it looks weird. So the better you can elevate your laptop to be able to see clearly and be at eye level, the better you're going to be heard and seen. I recommend that you have some natural light as well as a few other natural light sources. What you see there is actually what's behind me right now. And I just got a couple lamps that I bought off of Amazon that have both a torch that light up above me and some additional direct light that lights up my face from a couple different angles. I've also added in a ring light, which is behind the scenes here now. That's about $40 on Amazon as well. All of these tools can help these virtual presentations look so much better. I want you to consider the grid as well. If you ever noticed on your iPhone, right, there's this grid that shows you the sides, up, down, and middle. The more you can stay in the middle of your grid, the more visually pleasing your presentation will be to the people that you're talking to. So when in doubt, try to stay in the middle. And there's a grid on your iPhone that can help you practice that. But staying in the middle will help you look better as you present to anyone. As I said before, that angle from below is not a good angle, right? Is that somebody that you want to work with if they're looking down at you like that and you're looking over their chin? Again, I have the beard that helps, but if you don't have the beard, you see the other chin, that's just not a good look, right? That is not the angle that you want to be at when you're talking. The preferred angle is to be a little higher, right? And this is what it looks like when you are on the laptop stand. And I know we're over a year into COVID and virtual presentations, but if a lot of folks have not figured this out yet, so that's why I wanted to include some tips on making sure your virtual presentations just look better. So elevate it, light it up, have the wireless keyboard and mouse, and it's just going to help you look better. So let's dive into the actual presentation and what you say, okay? So when you are going through this buyer presentation, this buyer consult with that potential client, always open with gratitude. Always open with gratitude. Thank them for the opportunity to meet. As simple as it sounds, this is about managing energy and building trust and rapport. When I open up every presentation with an honest and earnest statement of gratitude, it changes the energy out the gate. So I always say, before I dive into trying to sell anything, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. And regardless of your choice, whoever you end up picking, there's 1.4 million realtors in the country. And I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to talk with you about your search and how my team and I can support you. The next thing you do after expressing that gratitude is ask them, how can you help? A lot of times as salespeople, we want to dive right into the meat, start teaching, start preaching, start pontificating about how great we are and all the things they need to do. But starting with a couple open-ended questions that ask them how you can help can immediately change the communication flow and help them speak more to you than you are speaking to them. In almost every consult that I've closed, and been successful in, the word flow and what is being said is more of the client speaking to me than me speaking to them, right? I'm always here to answer questions, but I want to let them know I hear them, I listen, I acknowledge, I'm connecting, I'm building rapport. So open-ended questions to get things started can also help you figure out where they are in the process. This how I can help question is important because there are different presentations needed for somebody that is already approved, ready to go, looking to do something in the next 60 to 90 days, right? Like A buyers. Because we meet with some people that say, well, I really want to buy a house and I saw you on Facebook or Instagram, but I haven't been employed for 3 years and I've got a 500 credit score, I've got $500 to my name, right? That's a different conversation. It doesn't mean that you can't help that person, but the earlier you figure that out in the consult, the more time you can save yourself from diving into everything when they need to have just simple financial management and financial planning conversations before talking about the actual real estate stuff. So by opening up with gratitude, changes the energy, and by asking them the question on how I can help and some open-ended questions on where they are in the process, what they would like to do, that can open up the energy and get your roll. So that's how I recommend opening these consults. It is super important that you collect follow-up information from who you are meeting with. The good news is if you utilize one of those scheduling tools I told you about, Calendly or Acuity, those automatically collect the contact information from everybody that you speak with. And we even have an integration where Acuity goes through to our CRM, which is Follow Up Boss. But even if it doesn't, it saves everything in your email. So you can go back and have name, phone number, and email to plug it right into Command or whatever CRM you use. A consultation with a lead is a waste if you don't have their contact information and some notes. So make sure that when you're going through these consults, you're collecting name, phone number, and email, and a few other points of information, which I'll tell you about in a second. I'll actually pause here and take a look at a couple of questions, see if there was anything pertinent I needed to jump on. Okay, how much fee for the app? Calendly, I think it's like 10 or 11 bucks a month for a basic level, and then enterprise level can get a little bit more expensive. Yes, write down the mission statement and recording. It looks like you're recording. Okay, cool. So we've opened up, we've built some rapport, we started with some gratitude, we asked some questions, and now it's time to actually dive in to your buyer guide. There are plenty of templates that I know Keller Williams offers on KW Connect and online. Our buyer guide is proprietary to Coalition, and I've built it up that we use like specifically internal. So, unfortunately, I can't give out my entire buyer guide to folks that ask, and you can definitely see some ideas from it today. And I do recommend that you build out a guide that you can follow, understand, you have practiced, and know how to deliver with confidence and understanding of the process, right? Because this is a continued conversation that gets that consumer to trust you and want to work with you to help buy their home. Ours opens up like this. You're meeting with us because you want to buy a house. There's some important graphic things I want to point out to this. I was a studio art major in college. So everything that we put out, I'm a nerd about how it looks visually, and it has to have some cohesive design elements. The background of this image and the background of the PowerPoint we're looking at today is Washington, D.C. And it's important to me that we represent the entirety of the city. So I want to make sure that I'm not just showing the fancy parts or the nice parts. I'm showing the entirety of the city and the region that we work, and that's a stylized map behind us. So make it personal, right? Make your brand be something that's memorable. And at every chance you have to interact with somebody, let them see it. Consumers are going to respond to something that is hyper-local, that speaks to the area that you work and serve, and they're going to appreciate those details, especially when you point them out. So this is the beginning of our presentation, and I like to dive in at the beginning of our presentation with norms and expectations, right? I want to let them know when they hire us, here's what you're going to get from Coalition Properties Group and our team. So I say first what they get from us, and then I go later to say what we expect from them. What's really important about however you formulate this list is that the list of what the consumer gets from you needs to be longer than the list of what you need from them. A lot of these things are pretty straightforward. You can make it as personal to you as you want, but make it clear that there is a compelling and complete service experience that they're going to get. People like to know about how quickly they'll be responded to. Honesty and integrity is important as well. So make sure you include those words: honesty, integrity, truth, trust. Protecting and respecting confidential information is a really important thing to talk about with clients right now, with all of the people getting caught up in scams and other things. I think it's important to verbally say that you will protect and respect their confidential info. You see, I strategically mentioned that we will never compromise their negotiating position. In an NAR study, they talked about one of the most important things that a consumer wants to hear from the realtor they hire. It's around the ability to negotiate. So you want to mention that. Respect and considerate of your time, right? These are other things that are going to show them the level of professionalism that we're going to deliver on. The bottom two are a little more of our personality and like what we like to express and share. But I will say straight up that I'm not going to tell you what you need to hear all the time. Excuse me, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. I'm not afraid to disagree with you, and I'm not afraid to tell you something that might be tough to swallow. In really competitive markets, the earlier that consumers know what they're up against and what they're going to have to do to actually compete and win, the more empowered they are and the better clients they are for you to work with too. So build the precedent up front that you're not just going to be a yes person to them, that the path to helping them succeed can often come from a little bit of disagreement, right? And being on not the same page with everything all the time, but always open and communicating. And then at the end, I'm going to set the expectation that we're going to give them a top-notch experience and build a relationship for life. If you intend to build a referral business, you have to drop lots of little verbal clues throughout this presentation and throughout the process that you want to earn, that you want to earn their referral. Don't just give it to me. I'm going to do so good that I'm going to earn it from you. And by us saying that and saying it repeatedly, it actually happens. My partner, Keith, in all of his consults says, I expect for you to introduce me to at least 3 or 4 of your friends before you close, because we're going to have such a good experience. I'm going to be successful with you. And I want you to share this with your friends, family, and other folks. And it happens. He averages at least 2 referrals from almost every person that he works with. But it doesn't happen automatically, right? He puts in the work and says it multiple times. So first set of norms and expectations is what the consumer can expect from you. The next set are what you and we need from them. And again, really important, really simple. And this list is shorter, it's smaller. That's a really important visual and semantic thing to say that you are going to get more than you give from them. That's what the consumer wants to know. They're going to get more than they give. So when we say to the consumer what we need from them to get started, we do require, right? We require all of our consumers and clients to speak with at least one of our preferred lenders before we go look at properties. Why do I put that first? We know folks do a lot of research and look on LendingTree and look on other websites, but if they're not working with someone that we know and trust, especially in this market that can get the job done, not all pre-approvals are created equal. We talk about our preferred list as an additional value add, and we express that by them working with one of our preferred folks and our preferred vendors, that is a value add and a competitive advantage that actually helps them succeed in a really tough market. So I say it as a requirement, but I also frame it as a value add and explain why we say that. We always set the expectation for them here too now that we need 24 hours notice before scheduling property tours. Why do we say that? Are we going to pounce and go show them something within a couple hours if it comes up? Sure, right? If it's the right home. But the earlier you can set the expectation on how that scheduling and flow will work, the less stressed and less crazy you're going to be about running out and sprinting to show them something as soon as it comes up within minutes. Now, again, every market's different. So if you have to get out to see them quick, you can. But I think the better you protect your time and effort, the better you manage their expectations, the better the experience is going to be. And that way, no one's going to get their feelings hurt if they call and say, I want to go see this in 30 minutes, right? Because that's, that's really tough to accommodate. Even if you have a big team, that's hard. So set the expectation that you want 24 hours notice before, make adjustments if you need. Always advise us if there's changes to their search, timeline, or situation, right? This market is emotionally volatile, right? People are all over the place. If something changes, we want to know so that we're not chasing them down to help them with something they don't want to do anymore. So this is empowering and also kind of diffusing a little bit from that commission breath and saying that if something changes, that's fine. I'll be here. I'll be ready when you're ready. And the last thing that I set is the expectation. This is the expectation for me and my team. Before we officially go look at properties, you have to sign a buyer agency agreement, period. It's what we do. Some people push back on it. Some people say, well, I just want to see homes otherwise. And I can tell you from our experience, if someone does not want to sign that buyer agency agreement or doesn't want to make it official and hire you, then you're going to have bigger commitment issues later with them wanting to write contracts and actually execute. So I encourage you to both do what you're supposed to do to establish fiduciary and to protect your time and investment by requiring folks to execute that buyer agency agreement. Again, with over 270 buyers that we helped last year, they didn't object at all to it. So like, if you think it's a problem or it's going to be something that they won't agree to, that's probably more of a you issue and a concern around scripts and language. But I want to protect my time and investment and effort. And I also just want to affirm that they're committed to get this done. So don't be afraid, express upfront that you expect that client to sign the buyer agency agreement. So those are the norms and expectations that we go through. And I like to then kind of take it back a little bit to give them some perspective, right? I think perspective is important, and this is kind of a part of that MVVBP that we all talk through. But I think perspective and expressing that can also help elevate you above just somebody chasing deals. I'm always telling the clients when we meet with them that I know life is a lot bigger than real estate. COVID really brought that to life for a lot of people. Every real estate transaction means a lot to every client, and it means these really personal and intimate things. And again, this is another opportunity to express some gratitude. I'm grateful for the chance to even chat with them today. And if they pick us, I know that's a big deal, and I will not take that lightly, right? So always share this perspective with your potential leads to elevate yourself over just your everyday salesperson. In our presentation, we also talk about our charitable commitments. If you don't have anything like this in your world, because most people do something with charities in their community or their neighborhood anyway, articulate it. Tell your clients what you do. Put the commitment out. 1% of commission is not very much. Like, that's very little. So, I mean, when I first saw this concept and heard of it, it brought to mind that consumers don't fully understand the money that we make or how it works. So by you putting out a commitment to give back 1% of the net, and I say the net commission that you earn, it's not that much. And it can also have a big impact beyond just the dollars that you contribute or donate, because by us championing and talking about these local organizations, it brings them to the attention of our sphere and clients, and even the people that we don't work with, right? And we just have a consult. I'm able to go to all these organizations and say, my team had 420 consults last year, and in every single one of them, we talked about your organization as one of our strategic charitable partners. I just want to thank you for what you do in the community. Guess what? For a couple of these groups, when I told them that, they featured us as a team in their outgoing publications, on their website, and on their social media. That increased exposure for us. So by just taking the action of telling people you intend to donate and that you will donate to them, it will increase your exposure, your relationships, and your opportunities within your local communities. So I think at a high level, and again, we get this between Red Day and all the things KW does culturally, but with your business, carve a little bit off. I come from a Southern Protestant faith tradition, and I think of tithes, right? Like, you know, you have to give back what comes into you to your higher power, to the things you care about, because without doing that, the abundance and opportunities just don't come in the same way. So however you like to do this, whatever the math is, express this as a part of your consult. And it's another thing that further endears them to want to work with you and be connected to you. Now, here's the meat of the actual presentation. This is what we go through with the buyers, explaining how to buy your home from beginning to end. There's a couple important things I want to point out about this structure and how this flow chart looks and works. The first and most important thing is that it is continuous, okay? It's not just a line. It's not a beginning to end. Psychologically, you want to express to your clients and the people that you're interacting with that by working with you and hiring you, that this is just the first step on their real estate wealth building journey. By speaking in those bigger terms and speaking that into existence, it's going to get their mind churning. And when they talk to their friends, they're going to say, oh, well, I just met with this agent last week and man, they were talking about building wealth and all these other, I just wanted to buy a condo. And they had me going down these whole other roads of what we could do together. And that's so big because it helps create them as raving fans to you, to other folks. And again, it helps elevate. A huge part of what we do in real estate is making sure we find ways to elevate from all the other choices that people have. So this Monopoly flow chart, again, I think I took it from a KW template years ago, had our graphic designers go over it. We look at it kind of every 6-7 months to make sure we iterate. It's important that it's continuous. It's important you explain to them that by going all the way through and buying their first home or second home, they should hopefully be in position to refinance, move up, do something else within 3 to 5 years. It's also important that you explain chronology and timelines. If we look in the bottom corner here to the left corner on that side, basically boxes 10 to 18, we explain how long it normally takes from contract to close. That's one of the most important facts that people want when they meet with you. How long is this going to take? I also tell them from the first meeting to actually getting keys and owning your home at the end, for us in our market, that's generally 60 to 75 days. The better mastery you have of how long it will take and what they should expect at which step, the better you're going to be. So I encourage everyone, if you don't have some type of flow chart, process chart, something that explains every step in order, you should definitely create that. There's tons of amazing templates on KW Connect and online. And again, ours, again, we have between our graphic designers, all the different iterations and things that we've created for it to go within the team. It matches us, our language, and how we describe things in DC. But I'd encourage you to work with your lenders that you do a lot of business with your title companies that you do a lot of business with, your inspectors that you do a lot of business with, and talk to them about the language and words, expectations, timelines, all the things that they're seeing so that you can express that to your client in this console. Single-handedly, this is the most impactful part of our presentation that people appreciate the most and that I think helps secure us the most business because it shows a command of the process, right? Expertise, content, advice. This is all of that in one place. A few other important things that I think it's important to point out when you go through the buyer guide. When do consumers have to come out of pocket with money through the process? When do they have to cut checks? I remember one of my first clients that I helped out, we get to the home inspection and it's the end of the home inspection. And I say, all right, well, everything went smoothly. Now you have to pay the inspector. And they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, I don't have to pay them. No, I pay everything at the end. I looked online and it told me when I buy a house, I don't have to pay anything till the end. So I was like, okay, that's a learning point. I should probably explain to them that there are times when they have to come out of pocket before closing. So at the bottom of this here, I make sure I show that when it's time to put your escrow deposit in, that's actually money leaving your accounts. When it's time to pay your inspector, that's actually money leaving your accounts. A lot of times with appraisal, you actually have to pay for that up front. I also want to explain to them when dollars are refundable to them and when they are sunken costs. The better people explain that, the more prepared they are, the more they can budget, the better. And then we have a big dollar sign on closing day at the end because that's when they have to bring their certified funds in order to close. We do a lot of work with first-time buyer programs and things that can help minimize people's cash out of pocket. But at the end of the day, you still need normally some kind of money, unless you're a veteran, 100% financing veteran getting closing costs. You need some kind of money to buy a house. So this goes back to the beginning when we have that initial, how can I help kind of discovery question period with them. You need to figure out what type of resources they have available. And then when they talk to the lender, that will help nail in exactly how much money do I need? What do I need to do? So the better you can master this flowchart part, the better you can master a clear explanation of what happens when, who does what, when a check is written, all those details, the more buyer consults you will close and do. And again, at the bottom, I put an explanation that says, here's when checks come out of your pocket. Here's when you write checks. Here's how it works. So we talk through this part. They're excited. They're ready. They understand the chronology. They understand the next steps. And we then say one more time that when this goes well, what happens after we help you get into your home is that you refer us to your friends and family forever. We want to be your realtors for life. I include this actual slide in all my presentations. So I'm saying it multiple times. that are going to earn your referral. It's going to happen. And guess what? It helps our business operate. Last year was over 90% by referral. So we get lots of referrals because of it. When housewarming parties are a thing, I put this slide in there because we love to help participate in and support housewarming parties in some way. And this doesn't mean you have to come out and sponsor or cater the whole thing. Sometimes just bringing a alcoholic beverage or juice boxes for the kids or food or something, right, to the event can really help solidify you. And housewarming parties are an opportunity that not enough agents take advantage of. I've even had clients do Zoom housewarming parties over the pandemic. I want to find a way to participate. And by me including this in the presentation slide, only about half of them will take me up on it. But for those that do, it's another great opportunity for them to what? Tell all their friends, family, and other folks about how great you are. Because guess what? At every housewarming party, there's at least 2 to 3 people that are in the process, want to buy a home soon, have a home to sell soon. It's just about making your circles and world bigger with people who can champion you and talk about how great you are, right? There's such power in something called third-party affirmation, which is somebody else telling the story of success through their experience, right? It's easy for us as realtors to want to talk about ourselves and how great we are, you know, all the ego and all the things we do well. But if we can have somebody else from their experience, unprovoked, tell our story to other people, that is the most impactful way to drive trust, relationship, and open up future opportunities for you. So whenever someone has a housewarming party, always offer to do something with it. Pro tip, you don't even have to spend your money to help support a housewarming party. Guess who else you refer through that process? A lender, an inspector, title company, right? Like all the different people involved. How much is it for them to give a $10 bottle of wine or champagne, right? That's nothing. It's just the presence and the thought to want to be there and solidify that relationship while the emotion is hot and enthusiastic and they're excited so that you can get more referrals. So put this in your and make sure you actually show up when they want to have a housewarming party. A few things that I'll wrap up with that are parts of the presentation that you should add in. I do a quick MLS and mortgage live look for them because I'm comfortable doing so. It helps me actually understand where they are with numbers as well. And as I'm sharing my screen, if we can talk about and look through listings, that helps me show them what exists in the market right now relative to their expectations. So when I say MLS and mortgage live look, I mean actually go to a Zillow mortgage calculator, share your screen with them and show them based on the purchase price they're assuming or the monthly payment that they're assuming, how much is that going to actually equal in purchasing power? Explain over and over again that you are not a lender and you cannot pre-approve them. But if we can get some rough numbers, like if someone tells me, you know, I want a $500,000 house, but they say, I can't afford a monthly payment over $1,500, even if they can afford it, but they don't want to pay over $1,500. This lets me show them how much down payment capital they have to have ready. And I have to say, like, well, if you want that payment to be that low, it's going to be a lot more money out of pocket. Does that make sense for you? It can immediately kind of manage those expectations, not kill dreams in any way, but it's important to at least be on the same page about what they expect, what they want, so that you can kind of save time and not have their disappointment with their purchasing power be connected to something that you didn't tell them later, right? So the earlier you can manage those expectations, the more that you can secure them as a client, someone to work with. Let's talk real quick about how you actually close this presentation. Some of the best strategies I've found for closing these presentations is explain that you want to get started with them as soon as possible. We'll have some people that say, oh, well, you know, I'm not doing this for a year, or, you know, I'm thinking, I mean, they'll say some crazy timeline. Like, I had someone call me the other day and said, I want to buy a house the next 3 to 5 years. I'm like, excellent. Let's have a conversation today. Again, it's a different conversation, but the earlier that I can endear myself to them, I want to change people's mindsets right now about those long out leads. Because sometimes those are really hard, right? It's really hard to stay engaged with somebody, even using all the tools in Command and newsletters and social media touches and everything. It's hard to stay engaged with people over a long time. But if you have a great presentation with someone, they are really impressed by you. They like you, right? But they're not ready to do it for a while. Guess what? They know other people in their life and world that are going to probably buy before they do. I had multiple scenarios where I've done a consult with somebody. They had an extended timeline for whatever reason. But before they ended up actually coming back to buy a home, they referred me 2 to 3 times over. So I encourage you to
encourage them to get started with at least the pre-approval process and knowing your budget, and even set them up with the automatic search from your MLS. What does that cause you or stop you from having them get listings for years in advance? It costs nothing. We have hundreds of those set up all the time. And that's a great free tool that lets them stay engaged with the market. And on the back end, you can actually see when their activity ticks up, and it can remind you to reach out and see what's going on with them. So explain to them that you're ready to get started with them as soon as possible. It's never too early to know your budget and explore the market. Basically, that script is what I said before. The more empowered and informed a buyer client is on the realities of their purchasing power and the realities of the market they want to compete in, the more empowered they are when it is actually game time to secure something. So starting early is never a bad thing. This was a pre-COVID script, but I used to give people the option to sign a buyer agency in paper or execute digital signatures. Right now, it's all digital signatures, all through DocuSign. So we just get everything signed and sent out pretty much right away.
Will they bring him out to me?
I think one is
Marrero. Okay, I'll let him know you're here. Thank you. Someone needs
see who it is. Okay. I can't tell who it is, but if the folks can find and mute somebody, that'd be helpful. I think someone's got a puppy or something.
It's Marilyn.
There we go. Thanks, she went down. Thank you. And again, we're a year into Zoom. Stuff still happens. We just keep rolling with the punches. And that's another important thing, man. As you go through these virtual presentations with people, give grace, man, and have grace for yourself. Like things, it's not going to be perfect. It might be a little awkward. You may hear background noises. You might, hopefully you don't like see them naked or anything like that's kind of hard to come back from. But if there's background noises or other things happening, keep rolling with the flow. Keep going with the punches. Get the buyer agency signed, and then secure that relationship and get them rolling early, okay? Some other things that I think can be helpful is to secure and collect their home address and consider sending them a simple follow-up note to thank them for taking the time to meet with you. I do something else where actually I'll talk about in a second, where we use a product called Send Out Cards, which is an automated form that will send a really delicious brownie and a branded card to people for it's like $7 or $8, regardless of them actually signing up with you. These little signs of gratitude and showing that you want to do things with them to show some appreciation for them taking the time to meet with you can also endear and help you earn more referrals. And make sure you're adding them to your social media and CRM. Every connection, you never know, right? Always think about and maximize the opportunities to connect with and get to know more people. Some tips for y'all today to leave you with that can help you grow some business. Go through your social media list, look at people whose birthdays it is. And these can be people that you feel anxious. In fact, I want you to go find the person you feel most anxious about communicating with because they were a friend and you've been a bad friend to them. You haven't talked to them in years, okay? That's the person that I want you to send a happy birthday text or a voice message or something today to just show them that you're thinking about them and that you hope they're doing well. If you build in this activity of reaching out to people and utilizing our social media networks for more than just posting on a wall, it can help you increase your connections, can help you re-engage your sphere, and I guarantee that it will lead to conversations about business. I also encourage you to sync your Google Calendar, if you use it, to your LinkedIn page. By syncing your calendar to LinkedIn, it does something really cool. Whenever you have a meeting scheduled with somebody and they have that same email address connected to their LinkedIn profile, you have the option that it can have LinkedIn send you a prep email before you have that meeting or consultation. And this can be for someone brand new, right? Someone you're just meeting with. It can let you spy on them a little bit and kind of know what they have happening professionally so that when you are in that consultation and meeting with them, you can name drop, you can figure out other connections that you have, you can accelerate the understanding and show that you did a little research on who you're meeting with. So syncing in LinkedIn to Gmail and Google Calendars can be a hack to help you get more information about the people you're meeting with. I utilize something also called Boomerang for Gmail. It's an email scheduler product that allows you, if you're typing out a bunch of emails late at night, to have them go out first thing in the morning. I am a night owl, right? I don't naturally want to get up early. I'm often up early because I have to be, but some of my best creative thinking happens late at night. I don't set the precedent of emailing or communicating with clients really after 9:30 or 10 o'clock, because if you set that precedent, then they think they can call you at that time. And that's not cool unless it's an emergency. So Boomerang allows me to get all my ideas out and schedule a message to go out to them. Generally, I'll set it for like crazy early, like 5 a.m. So they are so impressed, especially a new lead, like, wow, he's up early in the morning sending me this long paragraph. He's really a go-getter. When in reality, I scheduled it at like 1 a.m. and it went out at 4. So Boomerang is a good thing that can help you schedule emails and change impersonations. Slide Dial and Slide Broadcast are a little bit different now just because of the no call list, but those are just things that allow you to schedule phone calls or send out big mass calls to everybody. And we talked about Calendly and Acuity earlier as ways that can help you streamline your scheduling of appointments. At the end of the day, for us to close 50 buyers, to increase your buyer business, to just do better, do more, I think as realtors, we have to differentiate. In all your communication, how can you clearly articulate to that person that's talking with you why they should work with you, right? What do you do to differentiate? What makes you better? I think as realtors, we all need to do our jobs better. Something as simple as when you show a property, give the listing agent feedback, right? Respond to your emails. Make sure your voicemail is not full. If I get one more agent that I try to call about something and the voicemail is full, and if you feel targeted right now, I am targeting you, because there should be no realtor that has a full voicemail ever, right? Because that is our lifeblood in business to both consumers and to our seller clients we're working with too. We have to do better. We have to continue to level up and do better to solidify our value, because we got a lot of disruptors coming at us and trying to take our commission dollars away. I think you also have to know yourself. And what I mean by that is, as you're looking to grow your business and you want to do more in whatever side of business you're working on, you got to know what you're going to do consistently. Not everybody is positioned to go door knock, or not everybody is positioned to just cold call. I think we have a great opportunity within our spheres to further connect and grow and get to know those people that we already are in relationship with, and just make those relationships stronger. That's always a great place to start. And that is the most kind of feel good, sustainable business, in my opinion, because it's based off of relationships and reconnecting with folks you know. And then at the end, you got to be present. Whenever you're meeting with folks, and I'm grateful to everyone that was here and present today, we have to elevate our attention span and make sure that the folks know and feel that we are there with them, we're listening, and we want to work with and help them. So I think if you follow those 4 things, you can have a ton of success in growing your business. And that kind of concludes my presentation. There's all my information there for you. And I'm happy to take, if anybody wants to come off mute now and ask any questions, or I will check in the chat if there are any other questions. But thank you all. Thank you all so much for this today.
Awesome. Thank you, Harrison. All right. So anybody have any questions that they want to bounce off of Harrison, take this opportunity. He threw out a ton of awesome advice. Loved a lot of pretty much everything of what you were saying. Feel free to unmute yourself. We'll call you out just so we don't have a crazy cacophony of people chiming in. All right, Barbara.
What is your approach? What is your best and most direct and most successful approach with regard to getting them to sit down for a buying consultation?
Value. Well, with 2 things. When someone reaches out now, it's often because they have a question or they want some information. So you have to position and you have to believe that that next step of them having a buyer consultation with you is their gateway to more context, information, and strategies. Like right now, a word I use all the time is I'd love to talk through with you some of the strategies that are helping our clients win in a hyper-competitive market, right? So the more specific that you can be about what you're offering and the what's in it for them, the higher probability that they'll want to come and meet with you and talk. Because like I said, they can get the information anywhere, but how do you differentiate and talk about something special, extra, that sauce, right? Talk about that sauce early. What is that extra sauce that you can offer that gets them to meet with you? And that specific phrase, strategies that help buyers succeed in a hyper-competitive market. I'd love to talk with you about that. And you don't have to think that hard about it, right? You know what it is. It's just getting them to want to sit with you and then talk through the whole process. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
There you go.
Love it. Donna Gilbert.
Hi, Harrison. It's Donna Gilbert here. Thank you so much for this. This is just amazing, the amount of content you're sharing with us. I have a question. Because this is so, just put together so well, I can see using it over and over again. Do you enhance this? Do you do any sort of other seminars online, like buyer seminars or any sort of thing? Are you reaching out to your communities in that way and giving that sort of resource?
I do. We actually had on KW Connect, I did an interview about a week and a half ago talking about some of our strategies for homebuyer seminars, especially virtual homebuyer seminars. I challenge my team to do at least 2 a month. And again, it's because we got a lot of people, but I think the more conversations you can host with your sphere about all the different facets of both, I mean, from everything from real estate, like I'm having a conversation in April with an estate planner that's helping people because I'm 34, right? And my parents are getting up in age, so we need to plan on this. I'm starting to build up enough assets. So the short answer is yes. I think taking an opportunity to host any kind of educational seminar on this same format will be a smart thing to do. And I also want to encourage you that if you put something out there and only 3 or 4 people show up, that's not a loss at all in any way, because the activity of hosting an event, promoting it, and then sharing about it afterwards can actually drive more conversations than people coming to the actual event. So yes to buyer seminars, yes to seller seminars, yes to home improvement seminars, yes to get your garden ready and outside things to make your home feel more spring and ready seminars. Anything you want to talk through, I think right now is a great time because people are used to consuming content over this Zoom format, and you don't have to go that deep or get that crazy. And it also doesn't have to be just you. You can be the host of a conversation with an expert in the field. So short answer is yes. We do a bunch of them, and you got my info up there to shoot me an email. I can share with you the list of other ones that we do, but I think realtors have a really big opportunity to lead conversations in so many different fields that can then drive people back to wanting to work with us to buy and sell real estate later.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great answer. Great stuff. It's definitely way better to be the host than the actual speaker.
And it's valuable too, seriously. Like if you can just be the conduit, like people still show up and they associate you with it, man. It's mind share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions for Harrison while we got him? Olena.
Hello, thank you for the amazing presentation. So many ideas, and like my notes are full. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, for how long do you usually sign with a buyer? Because some buyers are tending to waste your time. So what's your average contract time?
We have plugged into our agreements 4 months. We'll say it's a 4-month engagement, but I also explain that when we are working together, if it is not working out, I use the joke and say, this is like dating, it's not like marriage. So if you don't like me and it's not working out or we're not accomplishing goals, you can fire me, but then I can also fire you, right? Like if you're not listening and you're not following along with what we're doing and executing on, I can fire you. I plug in, I say it's a 4-month commitment. Our DC area folks are type A, which I assume, y'all have as well with kind of the New York and Northeast suburbs folks as well. So some people get nervous about an extended commitment. Like I get more pushback on wanting it to be shorter than longer. So I think that 4-month time frame has been something people are okay with. And again, use your language to express not just what you expect, but that by following your suggestions and doing it the way you suggest, that is what helps them succeed, right? Like doing it this way is the right way to do it, right? Like not just this is what I'm telling you to do, but like by doing it this way and by being engaged for 4 months and having the freedom to cancel if you don't like, or I can cancel if I don't like, that's a better way to actually help you succeed and accomplish your goal.
Thank you. Have you ever fired your buyers?
Yes. Already, I think at least 2 this year. But yeah, you got to think we've already, like from a team perspective, we got, like I said, 52 pending and we've closed 50 units already this year. And personally, I'm responsible for a dozen of those closings and I've got about another 18 pending right now. So again, from a funnel perspective, that means I had, probably double that I'd engaged with before that actually turned to clients. So to me, and this gets back to that abundance mindset. You should not be afraid to fire or remove someone from your life or time, or that takes your energy if they are not actually willing to work towards that common goal. And again, there's some people right now that are afraid and there's lots of just weird emotions. So I'm not saying you give up on people that, need your help, but if you've given them advice, if you kept the receipts and you've documented it and they still are not willing to do what it takes or listen or take your advice, then you probably need to release them back to the marketplace to find somebody else that's a better fit and use your time on people that are actually going to take your advice and be successful.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Debbie.
Yeah. I probably missed the beginning, but how to get started and where you are right now? Was it just you started off on your own and built from that to grow such a successful team right now?
Yeah.
For new single agents, what a piece of advice could you give to us to grow and be successful like you?
Sure. So again, no one ever succeeds alone. So even when I did have just Harrison Beecher, which was me by myself, I came to Keller Williams in 2015. And the best thing that happened when I came to KW in 2015 was first leveraging out my contract to close, right? So hiring someone to help me with contract to close, but I didn't do that until I had enough transactions and didn't have enough time to do it myself. So I think for a single agent, your number one goal up front is lead generation, creating more opportunities for you to actually work and close. So Debbie, as you look at all the people you know in that graph that I showed earlier of all the folks in your sphere, your single focus to be able to grow anything is creating more opportunities and closing more of those opportunities up front. So like where we have gotten as a team, it took a lot of deals to be fed into the top to be able to afford admin help and to be able to afford buyer agents and other people that come in. But it started with me being creative and doing some home buyer seminars, working the neighborhoods where I worked, talking to my alumni association, my church, my mom's church, like our whole community knew who I was. And it was a line between like being omnipresent and spamming them. It was really close, okay? It was really close. But when you are persistent with that and you show up, there's this thing that happens with marketing, right? Where people think of you first. And even if it's not an opportunity you can help with, it's actually good when people start reaching out to you like, oh yeah, I got this real estate thing and I got, you know, you will see that start to happen when you show up in the communities where people already know you. So, I mean, I hope that's like specific enough, but I think as an individual agent, you got to build up the business and opportunities first. And I think you can do it from talking to the people you already know, or showing up in the communities where you already are known and recognized. Is that helpful, Debbie? I think you're on mute, Debbie. I have a t-shirt that's like, you're on mute.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any other questions? We don't want to take too much more of Harrison's time. All right. One more question, Elena.
How many showings on average do you take your clients to before you start having tougher conversation? Like, what are we doing?
Great question. You know, in that consultation and that flow chart that we talk about, I set the expectation that they're only going to see 4 to 6 properties at most with our team before we pick one. Now, in this market, just because things are so competitive, it's probably up a little bit higher for me from like 6 to 8. But I also encourage them and empower them that once they sign an agency agreement with me, they can go to as many open houses as they want. They can window shop all that they want. But I come into play and my team comes into play to go with them on a winner, on a good property. I've had multiple clients that we closed this year. I didn't go show the house to them at all. They went to an open house. They called me. We wrote the contract that night. So I think the earlier you set the expectation on how many they need to see or what is customary or standard, the earlier that you're going to be able to protect your time and not drive them all over the universe and see everything. And there's a couple slides that I actually got from Ignite that talk about the importance of initial vetting and making sure that before someone goes to see a home, that they pause, look at all the considerations and factors and make sure that this house is actually a 10 and one that they would consider writing an offer on. When you raise that bar for people, instead of just going to see every little thing, they will actually self-select out of quite a few homes. And also, I think it's important to make it clear that like, you're not just doing that to protect and save your time. It actually helps them psychologically to not go see everything in the universe. Like you literally don't need to see everything. So I think you set the expectation in the consult, you explain that that's how it works. You empower them to go to open houses and other time, you know, go see it when they can. And that will help save your time from going to show every house all over the universe.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Thank you, Harrison. I love that. 4 to 6 houses. Love that. Love that. Set that expectation.
And my partner Keith sometimes
All right.
as little as 2 or 3. Like he's a beast. He's just different. I'm not as good at that.
All right. Any other questions? Last call. All right. Let's give Harrison a round of applause. That was awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. Thank you for giving. us some of that time. And anybody else have a any other last call? Donna, I saw you just unmute, but all right. Thank you very much, Harrison.
I was just clapping.
Okay.
I'll send you,
Harrison.
I'll send to Steve that list of virtual consultation resources and a couple recap docs that you can circulate to the office. I'm on my contact
Absolutely.
here. We're always happy to help, and keep us in mind for anybody DC, Maryland, and Virginia. We'd love to send you a referral check.
Absolutely. Love it. All right. Thank you, Harrison.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Harrison. Thank you.